The Discovery Commander Thexara moved through the abandoned Earth monitoring station with practiced caution, her forearms operating scanning equipment while her crystalline eyes absorbed every detail. The station orbited above what humans called Mars, left behind when humanity withdrew from this sector 3 solar cycles ago. Her team of Xanthari researchers had expected to find damaged equipment, perhaps corrupted data cores, the usual detritus of a hasty evacuation. What they found instead would haunt the galactic concordate for generations. The data vault stood open, its security protocols deliberately disabled. Inside, row upon row of storage units hummed with quiet energy, perfectly maintained by automated systems. A single message played on repeat in 17 galactic languages. For those who wish to understand humanity, we offer our complete historical record. Enter freely. Learn wisely. Sub-Commander Krelvin rippled his gelatinous form in confusion, a gesture equivalent to a human frown. The Xanthari had encountered dozens of spacefaring species, and every single one had locked away their violent past, encrypted their shameful histories, hidden the blood that stained their path to the stars. Yet here stood Earth's entire historical database, unguarded and unashamed, waiting like a patient teacher. The research team consisted of 12 specialists from various concordate species. There was Yilwyn, whose race had achieved spaceflight through pure mathematics, never having experienced war. Beside her floated Operator Hex, a silicon-based life form whose people had evolved past physical conflict millions of years ago. Each member represented the cream of galactic scholarship, chosen specifically to evaluate whether humanity deserved full membership in the concordate. They began with what seemed safest: human art and culture. The main viewing chamber filled with Earth's greatest achievements, symphonies that made Yilwyn's sensory tendrils quiver with unexpected emotion, paintings that somehow captured light itself, making even Hex's crystalline structure resonate with appreciation, literature that spoke of love, loss, hope, and dreams in ways that transcended species barriers. For 3 days they immersed themselves in humanity's creative soul. Krelvin was the first to notice the pattern. Every great artistic movement, every cultural renaissance, every leap forward in human expression seemed to cluster around periods marked in red on the timeline. When he pulled up those red zones, the chamber's atmosphere changed instantly. These were not merely dates. They were scars. The first images appeared almost innocent to the galactic observers. Primitive humans with wooden spears hunting massive beasts. But then the display shifted, showing those same spears turned against other humans, tribes raiding tribes. The birth of organized violence. Thexara's translator struggled with the human term that kept appearing: warfare. In Xanthari, the closest word meant madness action, something done only by the diseased or insane. As they progressed through the timeline, the scale expanded exponentially. Where most species had brief conflicts in their early development, usually ending within a generation or two, humanity's record showed something terrifying. They never stopped. Stone weapons became bronze. Bronze became iron. Each advancement immediately turned toward one purpose: more efficient killing of their own kind. The Babylonians, the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans. Each civilization rose on foundations of military might, expanded through conquest, and fell to stronger armies. Yilwyn's breathing apparatus wheezed in distress as she processed the numbers. Where her own species had lost perhaps 3,000 individuals in their entire pre-space flight history to violence, single human battles claimed tens of thousands. Hex's computational matrices struggled to find logic in the patterns. These humans would build magnificent cities, create wonders of architecture and engineering, develop philosophy and mathematics, and then burn it all down in wars that sometimes lasted decades. The silicon being's internal temperature rose dangerously as it tried to process the paradox. Creation and destruction were not separate phases of human development. They were simultaneous, intertwined, inseparable. The medieval period brought new horrors, crusades that lasted centuries, plagues used as weapons, entire populations put to the sword for believing in slightly different versions of the same gods. The Xanthari team watched in stunned silence as the display showed the Mongol conquests, where a single leader's armies killed 10% of the entire human population. On any other world, such devastation would have ended civilization permanently. Humans rebuilt and went to war again within a generation, But it was the evolution of military technology that truly disturbed the observers. Where other species had developed tools and occasionally repurposed them for defense, humans seemed to innovate specifically for warfare. Gunpowder, discovered by accident, immediately became weapons. The printing press, which spread knowledge, also spread propaganda for wars. Every human invention carried within it the seed of military application. Kelvin's form began to pulse with agitation as they reached the age of exploration. Humans had barely mapped their own world before they were using those maps to conquer each other more efficiently. Ships designed for trade became warships. Navigation tools became military advantages. Even their diseases became weapons, intentionally or not, wiping out entire civilizations. The colonial period showed something even more disturbing to the alien minds. Humans had developed elaborate justifications for their violence. They created hierarchies of worth, philosophical frameworks that allowed them to see other humans as lesser beings deserving of subjugation. They institutionalized warfare, made it honorable, even glorious. Young humans were raised on stories of military heroes, taught that dying in battle was the highest honor. Thexara had to recalibrate her emotional dampeners as they entered the industrial age. The American Civil War introduced mechanized slaughter. Single battles produced casualty lists that exceeded some species' entire populations. Yet the most disturbing element was not the death toll but the determination. Both sides knew the cost would be catastrophic. They fought anyway, for principles, for ideas, for concepts that the Zenthari could barely comprehend as worth a single life, let alone hundreds of thousands. The display showed military academies where humans studied nothing but war. Entire sciences developed around killing more efficiently. Chemistry became poison gas. Physics became ballistics. Biology became weapons. The team watched humans transform every discovery into a tool of war with such consistency that Yilwen posed a horrifying question. Did humans advance technology for progress or for warfare? As the 19th century gave way to the 20th, the scale shifted again. Where once armies numbered in thousands, now they numbered in millions. The Ottoman Empire, the Russian Empire, the British Empire, all maintaining massive military forces even in peacetime. The concept baffled the observers. Why maintain armies if not actively threatened? The answer came from the records themselves. Humans always expected the next war. They were right. The display began showing the build-up to what humans called the Great War, and Thexara felt her heart skip in unison. The assassination of one human in a city most humans couldn't locate on a map triggered a cascade that would kill 17 million. The entire galactic research team stood frozen as the first footage of trench warfare filled the chamber. Miles of mud and death, humans living like insects in the earth, periodically charging into machine gun fire for gains measured in yards. The revelation. The footage from World War I was still playing when Hex made a disturbing observation. According to the data, humans called this the war to end all wars. The Silicon being's processors nearly overloaded when it discovered that the next global war began only 20 years later. Not only had humans failed to learn from the mechanized slaughter, they had innovated new ways to multiply it. World War II defied every model of intelligent behavior the Concordat had ever developed. The deliberate targeting of civilian populations, the industrialization of genocide. Cities firebombed into ash. Humans had created weapons specifically designed not to win military objectives, but to break the enemy's will through pure terror. The team watched London burn, Dresden disappear in flames, Tokyo transformed into an inferno that killed more than any battle. Then came the moment that changed everything. August 6, 1945, a single bomb falling from a clear sky. The footage showed the mushroom cloud rising over Hiroshima, and every member of the research team physically recoiled. They had each seen stellar manipulation, watched species harness the power of suns, but this was different. This was a barely spacefaring species splitting atoms to annihilate their own kind. Yilwen's translator failed completely on the term mutually assured destruction. Her species had no concept for it. The idea that intelligent beings would build weapons capable of ending all life on their planet, then point them at each other and call it peace, broke something fundamental in her understanding of consciousness. Yet that's exactly what humans did. For 50 Earth years, they stood on the precipice of extinction, fingers on triggers that could end everything, and called it the Cold War. The research team discovered something even more disturbing in the records. Humans had nearly ended themselves by accident multiple times. Computer glitches, false alarms, miscommunications, any of which could have triggered nuclear holocaust. Yet they persisted with this insane strategy. Even more baffling, it worked. The two greatest human military powers never directly fought, because the consequences were too terrible even for humans. Krelvin's form had taken on an unhealthy gray color as they progressed through the proxy wars. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan. Humans had found ways to fight without triggering total annihilation, turning smaller nations into battlegrounds for ideological conflict. They refined warfare into an art form, developing rules of engagement, limited war doctrines, surgical strikes. They had systematized warfare to such a degree that it became a permanent state of existence. The digital age brought new dimensions to human conflict. Cyber warfare, economic warfare, information warfare. Humans had found ways to attack each other through every possible medium. They weaponized social media, turned satellites into targeting systems, made drones that could kill from continents away. War had evolved from clubs and stones to algorithms and electrons, but it never stopped. What truly shook the concordant observers was the human response to their own nature. They didn't deny it or hide from it. They studied it. Entire academic disciplines devoted to war. Military historians, strategic studies, peace and conflict research. Humans knew exactly what they were and tried to manage it rather than cure it. They built international laws for war, treaties limiting certain weapons, conventions protecting civilians. They knew war was inevitable, so they tried to regulate it. Thexara found herself studying the monuments humans built. Every nation had them. Memorials to fallen soldiers, museums dedicated to wars, holidays commemorating battles. Humans didn't bury their violent past. They carved it in stone and taught it to their children, not as shame but as remembrance, not as failure but as sacrifice. They honored their warriors even as they claimed to seek peace. The paradox deepened as the team discovered that many of humanity's greatest advances came from military research. The internet, designed to survive nuclear war, GPS created for missile guidance, nuclear power born from weapons research. Even their space program grew from intercontinental ballistic missile technology. War wasn't just part of human history. It was the engine driving human progress. Operator Hex made a chilling calculation. By its estimates, humans had experienced fewer than 300 days of complete global peace in their recorded history. Every single day for thousands of years somewhere on Earth, humans were killing each other in organized conflicts. The consistency was terrifying. Weather changed, ice ages came and went, but human warfare remained constant as gravity. The team found records of human military doctrine, and what they read challenged their core beliefs about intelligence and survival. Humans had developed concepts like decisive battle, total war, scorched earth, asymmetric warfare. They had 50 different words for victory and 100 ways to achieve it. Their military leaders studied texts written thousands of years ago, finding relevance in ancient strategies for modern conflicts. But the most disturbing discovery came when Yilwen accessed the psychological profiles. Humans didn't just accept war. Part of them craved it. They had terms like warrior culture, martial spirit, combat addiction. Some humans volunteered repeatedly for war zones, unable to adjust to peace. Their entertainment celebrated violence. Their sports mimicked combat. Their children played war games from the moment they could walk. The biological data was even more troubling. Human bodies were designed for violence in ways the peaceful concordant species were not. Adrenaline responses that enhanced strength and speed. Psychological mechanisms that allowed them to dehumanize enemies. The ability to override self-preservation instincts for group survival. Evolution hadn't moved humans away from violence. It had optimized them for it. As they reached the current era, the team expected to find humanity finally outgrowing its violent nature. Instead, they found adaptation. Modern humans had nuclear weapons in space, kinetic bombardment satellites, biological weapons that could target specific genetic markers. They had not abandoned war. They had elevated it to an art form that could operate on planetary scales. The records showed human military spending exceeding the gross planetary product of most concordant worlds. Even in their peaceful periods, humans prepared for war with an intensity that suggested they knew something others didn't. Or perhaps, Thexara thought with growing dread, they knew themselves. The final files contained humanity's first contact protocols, and the research team's blood equivalents ran cold. Every scenario humans had developed for meeting alien life included military contingencies. They had war-gamed invasions, prepared resistance strategies, developed weapons specifically for non-terrestrial threats. While the Concordat had approached first contact with hope and curiosity, humans had approached it ready for war. Krelvin was the first to speak after hours of silence. His words rippled through his fluid form like waves of distress. They left these records open intentionally. This isn't history. It's a warning. Dexara's 4 hands trembled as she began compiling their report. How could they recommend humanity for Concordat membership? These were not beings who had transcended their violent nature. They were apex predators who had learned to smile. Yet how could they reject them? If humanity felt threatened or insulted by rejection, the archives had shown exactly what they were capable of. The most terrifying realization came from Hex's final analysis. Despite all the warfare, all the death, all the near extinctions, humanity had not only survived but thrived. They had achieved spaceflight not in spite of their violent nature but because of it. War had driven them to innovate, conflict had forced them to adapt, and the constant threat of annihilation had somehow made them stronger. They were not a species that had conquered war. They were a species that had been forged by it, shaped by it, perfected through it. And now they walked among the stars, offering their hand in friendship while their history screamed a simple truth. We survived what would have destroyed you. The research team left the station in silence, their report unwritten. How could they explain to the peaceful Concordat that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their creativity, but their willingness to embrace the darkness that other species had evolved beyond? How could they warn the galaxy that humanity's smile was genuine, their friendship real, but their capacity for violence unlimited? As their ship departed, the station's message continued to broadcast into the void. For those who wish to understand humanity, we offer our complete historical record. Enter freely, learn wisely. The wisdom the team now understood was not in learning human history, it was in learning what humanity had become despite it, or perhaps because of it. They were not a species to be feared for their past but respected for their present. They had looked into the abyss of their own nature and chosen to build bridges instead of walls, to explore rather than conquer, to extend hands rather than fists. But everyone who read those archives would know the same truth. Those hands could become fists at any moment. And unlike every other species in the Concordat, humanity would not hesitate to use them. They had practiced for thousands of years. The message was clear. Humanity came in peace, but they were always ready for war.